Okay, hi guys. This is a second video where I want to talk about some aspects of the game. Um, a couple of you asked me for a bit more explanation about liberties and life and death and why you keep losing stones and why your stones keep getting killed by the bots. So I'm just going to go over the basics of Go again. So there is one rule in Go. It's the only rule in Go that says in order to exist on the board, you must be able to breathe. And what that means is that you must have liberties or breathing spaces adjacent to your stone. So if you look at the stone on the board now, it's slap bang in the center. It could be anywhere on the board. And it actually has four liberties. These are the directly connected points. Um, we notice that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 liberties for this stone. This point here is not a liberty for this stone, nor is this point, nor is this point, nor is this point. These are not adjacent points, and so we can't count those as liberties. The liberties are the ones that are connected, and they're known as its liberties, its breathing spaces, or indeed its lives. So what happens next if white comes in? So first white comes in here, and notice it's taken one of the liberties off black. Black now only has 3 liberties left. And if white plays again, if black doesn't respond, white takes another liberty away, and the black stone now only has 2 liberties left. And white continues because black is asleep or doing something else, and white takes a third liberty. Obviously, in a game, this doesn't normally happen, but I'm just demonstrating the principle of what we mean by liberties and losing liberties. And so when a stone, in this case the black stone, only has 1 liberty left, it's said to be an Atari. Atari is the Japanese word. It's a bit like check in chess. You know, when your king is in check, you're in trouble. Unless you do something right now, you're going to lose the game. Or in this case, you'll lose the stone. Um, the things that black could do, black could play on point 1 itself, and then it would extend its stone and become a group with 3 liberties. But if it does nothing, white will take that final liberty. It will play here, and the black stone disappears. It can no longer breathe. It has no liberties. Therefore, it can no longer exist. And that is the only rule of Go. What's remarkable about this game is it comes out of such simplicity, grows such elegant complexity. But that's it. There are a couple of special situations. One's called Ko, one's called Seki. I don't want to go into those right now, but this is what you need to look at. So let's come back. So black plays a stone, has 4 liberties. White starts to take those liberties, and when the final liberty is there, when it's only got 1 liberty left, it's said to be an Atari. And if black does nothing, white will kill and remove that stone. Okay, so let's just look at another situation because that applies to single stones and it also applies to groups. So here we have a group of 3 stones. Now groups are stronger than individual stones, and the reason that they're stronger is because they have more liberties. So you can see that this 3 stone group has actually got 8 liberties. They're here, 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 all around the adjacent points. Again, make note that that, and that, those points there are not liberties. They're not adjacent to the stones. They're diagonal to the stones. If we were to place a black stone here, it would be a diagonal stone, but it's not a connected stone. These are the only connected stones. Just get rid of these crosses. So the 3 stone group has 8 liberties, but again, if white starts to move in on that group, it takes off a liberty. It takes a second liberty, it takes a third, it takes a fourth, it takes a fifth, it takes a sixth, it takes a seventh. And again, this group at now, with only 1 liberty, whenever a group of stones has 1 liberty left, it's said to be an Atari. And if white plays here, the black stones must be removed from the board because they can no longer breathe, they can no longer exist. It is the only rule of Go. I'll just run that round again. So here's the black group. White takes the outside liberties surrounding the black group. It's one of the reasons that in China, this game is called Weiqi. It means the surrounding game. And finally, in a final killing move, white takes the liberty and black is removed. And this applies regardless of the shape. So here we have, a slightly more complex black shape. It's a chain of stones that have got lots of liberties. I haven't actually numbered them, but in reality, this group, if I put the numbers on, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 liberties. Are the liberties available to this group? Again, notice it's the adjacent points. It's not these. That's not a liberty. That's not a liberty. That one's not. That's not. That's not. That's not. That's not. That's not. Nor is that one. The diagonal points are not connected. They're not liberties. So white starts the attack, and white attacks here, takes a liberty, takes another liberty, takes another liberty, takes another liberty, continues the attack, takes all of black's liberties, and now when black has got one liberty left, black is in Atari, and unless black responds immediately or actually sooner in a game, you really wouldn't let your opponent surround your pieces in that way. White plays on the final liberty and the black stones disappear from the board. They can no longer breathe, they can no longer exist. That's the way this works. So how is it that any stones on the board manage to survive? Well, that's where part of Go Magic comes in, because we have this situation. It's a slightly more different, it's a different shape. And this shape and variance of it is known as an eye. Why is it known as an eye? Because it's enclosing here in the center a single point. That point there is being enclosed, and that's an eye. It's like a human eye, an animal eye, a reptile eye, whatever. It's known as an eye. But the thing about eyes is that they can still be attacked. But the rule of liberties means that it's not possible for white to play a stone in the center, because if white attempted to play a stone here, see, that stone actually cannot breathe. It has no liberties, and therefore is not allowed to play there. It cannot exist. So white cannot play in the center of an eye unless first white surrounds that eye. So white takes, again, all of the outside liberties one by one. And finally, black only has one liberty left. So black is in Atari again. And actually, at this point, white can make the killing move, because at the point at which the white stone touches the board, the black stones lose their final liberty, and so they die. And so white is allowed to play into that space, because in doing so, it kills all or part of the surrounding group. So white makes the move, and the board looks like that. Black has disappeared. We go from there to there, because white has played the center point and killed the entire group. But notice that white can only do that when all of the outside liberties have been taken. White couldn't play the white stone in the center of that, while black still had outside liberties, because that would be suicide. And despite this being a Japanese game, suicide is not allowed. So that means that a group with an eye is more difficult to kill, but actually it's not impossible to kill, as we've seen, because we can still get at it. But, and here's where the magic comes in, if we have a group with two eyes, and here's a group on the edge of the board that's got two eyes, you can see them, 1 and 2. By using the edge of the board, black has been slightly more efficient because it doesn't need to build the extra stones. It doesn't need to put the stones down to fully create, because the edge of the board creates the additional wall. So this black group has got two eyes. Now notice what happens. White surrounds the group, but white can't play in this space because it's suicide, and nor can white play in this space because that would be suicide too. And so any group with two eyes, just like a living thing, because despite biology and evolution, we don't have any single-eyed beasts on the earth. Any group with two eyes isn't alive. What black has built is a fortress, and that group will remain on the board until the end of the game. It simply cannot be killed and it cannot be removed. Now, this is a key part of Go. To actually create groups with eyes in the way that I've done it isn't very efficient. Notice how black has used, in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stones to actually capture 1, 2 points of space. That's 2 stones a point. That's just not efficient. When we're playing Go, what we need is we need the capacity for our stones to build eyes quickly. So when you're under attack, when your opponent's coming at you, what you need to be able to do is actually build eyes. And so we call this eye potential, because if we try and build eyes in the way that I've done here, it just simply becomes inefficient. Black has got 2 spaces, but white has vast potential on the outside to create much larger areas of territory, because those black stones are effectively shut off. They will play no further part in the game. Yes, they've got 2 points of territory, but they're isolated, they're cut off, they're quarantined effectively. They can never have any more influence on the game, whereas all of white stones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, are actually will still continue to radiate power across the board. Right, so that takes us to the next phase. Oh, there's one thing I wanted to just show you on that final thing is actually, once white is it, black must never make the mistake of connecting one of its stones. If black plays here, and I've seen this in some of your games, black has now reduced his group down to 1 eye. And because there's only 1 eye, white can kill it. And that's what it would look like. It would be destroyed. And that was because actually black made the foolish mistake. Let's just get rid of these white blobs here. Of taking away his own eye. And now he can be killed. Just like that. Okay. So let's look at another example, because this idea that a group with 2 eyes is unkillable. It's permanently alive. It's a permanent feature. It will be on the board until the end of the game. It's a fortress. So when you're under attack by your opponent, what you need to do quickly and as rapidly as you can is ensure that your group has got 2 eyes, and then it will never die. And again, what I've seen in lots of your games is your groups coming under attack and just being chopped and killed. And we'll talk a little bit more about that another time. So here's an example of a black group. It's got 1 eye here, and it extends all the way across the board. And it's got a 2nd eye there. So the 2 eyes that this black group has are actually separated by the entirety of the board. Black's built a chain of stones, but they're all connected, which means that even if white takes all of the outside liberties, like this, white still cannot kill black, because white can't play there because it's suicide, and white can't play there because it's suicide, because there black still has a liberty and white has no liberties. This white stone has no liberties, no breathing spaces. It can't exist in that location, and it can't kill all or part of the group by playing there, because black still has a liberty. And so that group, again, like the other ones we've just discussed, becomes a fortress. Now, what's the smallest living group you can make on a board? Well, it's actually in the corner, because we take advantage of the corner to show the fact that these 2 stones in the corner of the board actually make an eye, because we have to assume that the other stones are in place around the edge of the board. And so that's a 1-eyed group. And if black plays these 2, as you can see, black now has 2 eyes. So white can approach this around here and shut this group off. And black has to be really careful here, because if white were able to play here, then he's forced an Atari on one of black's eyes. And if black doesn't respond, white will take it. And even if white doesn't take it and black tries to connect here, then white can still pushing from the other side. And black is once again in Atari. He's got one liberty, which means he's going to die. So in the normal sequence, if white does that and black connects, white will kill in this case. If black doesn't respond, white can play here. If black connects, white kills. And the board looks like that. And again, in lots of your games, I've seen those kind of shapes appear. There isn't any kind of magic here. This is simply consequences of rule number 1, which is to exist on the board, you must be able to breathe. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I hope that's useful. Please give me some feedback on these videos. It's very important that I understand if they're helping your learning or not. But that was liberties, life and death, and eyes. And as one of the Go proverbs said, go is all fun and games until someone loses an eye. See you soon. Bye, folks.